Welcome back. My name is McKenna,
And I'm Bree.
and today we're talking special interests. Hotties.
Yeah, welcome to the Audie Hottie podcast.
Here we are.
So on our updates, I have to hear about it. Someone went to Taylor Swift concert.
I did.
And there was drama beforehand, and I have not heard the story since. So tell me about Taylor Swift.
Well, first of all, I got my nails done for all the different eras.
They're so
So that was my first thing I wanted to share. Second thing I wanted to share was the pre-trip drama. So I am a person with ADHD. I lose things all the time. Classic that couldn't find my passport anywhere. Like wasn't in my usual spot. The last time I had it, I knew that I had it with my mom. So I wondered if she took it home to California and stored it in like all of our important documents. It wasn't at her house. So I had my birthday weekend where we went out to the coast. It was so fun. And everyone was just curious if I was going. And I was like, yeah, well, I don't know where my passport is. And this was like the week before, and everyone was just kind of like, okay. And so I went into Monday after the weekend, just like, okay, well, I'm going to call the border because it was up in Canada.
And this is all happening like a week before the concert, right?
Yeah. So this was December 2nd, and the concert was on December 6th. Yeah. So, I had the plan to like call the border and see if there was anything I could do with documentation I had. I had applied for an expedited passport and paid for it and everything, but got a notification on Friday that I needed to fill out another form, which was not in the original instructions. So it's not like anyone's fault. It's just the process, but I definitely wasn't getting the replacement passport by Friday because it was being processed in Virginia. So anyway.
So that's the last I heard was that there was a passport waiting over here that couldn't get to her, and there's no passport over here, and we had to get to Canada.
I had to get to Canada. So I knew that my old passport had to be in my house. Like I knew it had to be at my house. So my sister and I got back from the trip and just started going through boxes and found it. Probably only after about 15 minutes of looking, which
no. After months of like having looked for it.
Yeah, which is kind of a pattern. I avoid things that I think are going to be like really long or impossible, and it's hard for me to get initiated on the task. So she was like, let's get started. And we did. And it was in one of the first boxes that I looked through, which was really cool. Yeah, it was with books. So,
makes total sense.
It's a small book.
LOL.
I don't know if it was me or my mom that put it in there. So, anyway.
But you went.
I got to go. I got to get across the border. So it was I have no words. Like it was everything that I thought it would be, but also so much more.
This was your first time going to her?
No, it was actually my third time seeing her. So I went to her Fearless tour back in high school, and then I also went to 1989 with my sister, and we had floor seats for that actually.
Wow.
It was so fun because Taylor Swift's mom at that time was choosing fans around the venue to go and meet Taylor Swift afterwards. And she walked right by us and picked the people sitting next to us, which like
so close.
It's a whole story, but they were dressed up as Sick Beats. Like they were dressed up as Beats with masks on. So playing on the Sick Beat in Shake It Off. But my sister was so little. She was, I think she was like 12 at the time, and it was her first concert. So I was like, Maggie, go up to Andrea and tell her it's your first concert. And poor Maggie was like no, I don't want
Oh.
to. And I mean, I'm sure I was mad at the time. I was like, oh my God. But no,
Mm.
we got to see her mom and say hi to her, which
Oh,
was really cool. I know that a lot of people right now are like trying to give her friendship bracelets because that's a huge part of the Eras tour. So,
yeah.
yeah, I got to meet Andrea Swift. And anyway, so this was my third time seeing her. However, as people in the world know, it was a very inaccessible concert.
Mm.
I missed the first opportunity to sign up for codes for concerts, mostly because I didn't really understand that I needed to do that in order to get tickets. I just
Uh-huh.
thought it was kind of like a pre-sale thing, and then I could get tickets later, no problem. It became very evident after the first and second concert that these tickets were going to be skyrocketed. People are selling them
Oh.
for way overpriced. And then there's no access to like Ticketmaster releases unless you have signed up for the pre-sale,
Oh,
which I
wow.
didn't do, which was in like November before the tour even started. So, and then there was just never any access points to re-sign up. So,
Wow.
um, yeah, it was it, and also a huge part of my Taylor Swift journey has been just like navigating kind of the ethics of supporting her.
Mm.
And at the time, she was dating someone who had made racist comments and thinking about like ethical billionaires. And honestly, I think some internalized ableism on my part for like being so obsessed with her. And anyway, that was happening like at the same time that the Eras tour was going on. So it was also just like, I don't know if I want to like put money into doing this. And then um kind of deciding, oh, I really want to go, but I can't go. And anyway,
Oh.
I ended up getting tickets last Christmas. They were given to me and I got to go with a group of lovely women. I got to be their
Oh.
fourth person to join and we had so much fun.
Oh. You made like jackets and
Yeah, I made a jacket and Hevis, if you're listening, you're gonna laugh so hard, but it it was like the best project I've ever done and the worst project I've ever done. It was like this very stereotypical story of like having this machine to work with that printed out lyrics. So I decided to make a jacket just with a ton of different Taylor Swift lyrics, and it's called a Cricut machine. And so the first step was so much fun. And
oh.
you just input all the lyrics and then it prints out on this machine and it's very um it's a it's a process and you just do it over and over again and it's just you get closer and closer to the end of the project, right? So then the next part of the project was putting these lyrics onto the jacket and that's where it was just like my autism perfection just flared. I was so mad. Just like seething trying to get these fucking lyrics on the jacket.
And it was like iron on,
It
right?
was
Like,
iron on, but it was like the directions were not actually what was supposed to be and like you couldn't read the exact temperature because usually people do this with heat presses, they don't do it with
um,
irons, so you set the heat press to a certain thing, press it on, la di da,
yeah.
and this one was not the case
It was
and
not a very scientific process.
it was not. And so I had different colors of the lyrics to put on my jacket. I did like each color per era, kind of like my nails. and
Wow.
and each color was different.
Oh no,
So
like how much you had to hold it or like,
yes.
oh.
So it was really frustrating. Um, but I did it. It turned out beautiful. It's one of my
Oh.
favorite things that I've ever made. I want to frame it. I only had a couple of letters fall off at the concert.
Did you find
Um,
them to put back on or like they were gone?
you know what? I saw them on the floor and just left them.
You said never mind.
There was a lot of like glitter on the floor everywhere. These were glitter letters, so I was like, it just is on fame, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Work.
leaving my mark on the world. So yeah, I made the jacket. I was talking to my friend about this a lot, but I feel like it was almost like a wedding, like just this massive event that you prepare for months. There's all of this excitement leading up to it. There's a lot of details to plan. There's a lot of uh, is the word camaraderie,
Mm.
but like when you're with people, like we made friendship bracelets beforehand,
Uh,
and then I made this jacket with Tevis. And so it was just one of those things where it was all this preparation for this big event. And then the day came for the big event, and it was so good. Like it was just, again, I just love her.
oh.
I love Taylor Swift so much. Um, it started and I started bawling, right? Like I feel emotional even right now thinking about just like that moment of her coming onto the stage and it's like these beautiful rippling, I don't even know what they're called, but it's big pieces of fabric. It's just a beautiful production. Um, and I mean that just continued for every single song
Oh.
of just singing my heart out, crying along. Like there were definitely a lot of songs that I cried to.
Oh.
I'm a very emotional person, Pisces moon. So I'll probably say like once an episode at least.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it was, I think also a huge part of healing some grief that I have of just like it was a concert that I thought I was going to go to with my ex, and we broke up pretty much right around the time that they gave me the tickets. And so it was kind of always connected to them. And then actually being there, going through the concert, and like singing through some of the songs that we used to listen to together and kind of marked parts of our relationship, but also like songs that were so illustrative of our breakup and like helped me kind of process that and just kind of screaming those lyrics. It ended up just being this beautiful memory. Like I think part of the weekend, what I really enjoyed was being around this group of women who were so kind and welcoming to me and just
Mm.
so positive, joyful. It was just some really beautiful energy to be around. It was really interesting also having seen the concert on all of these live streams
Mm.
and then also seeing it in like on her Eras tour.
Documentary
It,
thing. Yeah.
it wasn't the documentary, it was actually the whole show
Oh
is
yeah.
was like released on Disney Plus. So I went to the theater to see it and then also have watched it on Disney Plus. So
Plus seeing her before on other tours.
exactly. So it was one of those things where I think my brain was also trying to process like what was going on. Oh, this is the best part. How could I forget this part?
Oh
Okay.
no.
So I so I walked into the venue with a bunch of things that weren't allowed because of medical exemption. So
Oh.
beforehand, I was able to like get this approved to bring in to put electrolytes in so I didn't have to keep on filling it up throughout the concert. I was able to bring gluten-free snacks in.
Mm.
Um, so I had, anyway, this relates. I had my phone out to see the different, to show the security people, like, I'm actually allowed to have this, which, by the way, was a terrible
Oh.
experience. They kept on gaslighting me left and right of like, you can't take this in. And I was like, yes, it says on my list that I can take this in. It's been approved. And then they would be fine with it. But it was just like, I've said this several times, get fucking with it and like, listen to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
So
obviously a
anyway,
process for it, so
it's
why
really,
aren't you following the process?
yeah, exactly. And just not listening to me that like I had the medical exemption letter and not even looking at it. Like once I said that I had it, they didn't even fucking look at it. I was just like, you guys suck.
Oh
So
my gosh.
anyway, um, went through and I know that some people have tried to bring in mobility aids and
Oh,
security has questioned them even though they've been pre-approved. And it's just so fucked up.
wow. Yeah.
It drives me nuts. Anyway, so I had my phone to do this to show them the list. And then we decided to go check out the merch line, and it was 4 stories high. Mhm.
Uh-huh.
But we wanted to see where it ended, just in case we wanted to hop in line for several hours, which also I don't understand why people go to concerts to stand in the merch line, but whatever. We can get beyond that. So I was on the fourth floor, used the bathroom, came back, found our seats, which were, by the way, such fucking good seats. We
Aw.
were in the first row of the lower section.
Whoa.
Yeah, so the stage was probably like 50 feet away from us, and the floor was right here, but like we were above the floor.
And not too
So
many people to look over and
no people to look
wow.
over. The bar was in front. I was like, it was the best ever.
Aw.
So anyway, get to my seat, take out my phone, or try to take out my phone, look for my phone. It's gone. The
Oh
phone is
no,
gone.
no.
So I had no phone.
Ugh.
I looked everywhere. I looked back in the bathroom. I checked in with guest services and on multiple floors because, can't just have one guest services for a venue. You have to have multiple. So this is what I spent like the first hour doing and like staying relatively calm. I wasn't worried at all. And I was just like, all right, well, this is the universe really, really telling me to just take it in and be in the present. And I was so present for the concert. I was really looking back, it was the greatest gift. Even though I don't have any pictures.
Where did you find your phone?
I didn't. We checked in after, and then the next day I decided to go back to Seattle early just so I could start getting my new phone because I have like my insurance phone is what I got. So they called me while I was on, or they called my mom on the way to Seattle and told her that they had found it at the venue.
Okay.
It's still there, even though I have sent them my address multiple times to send it. There's been no correspondence from them. So
What?
and the concert was a week ago.
Stolen.
I know. And the only reason why I want it is because there are some pictures from like the last time it was backed up to now. And then also, all of my drafts on TikTok are gone.
Oh, they're linked to your phone, not TikTok itself.
They're linked to the app of TikTok. So if you delete your app, it takes away all of your drafts.
Oh, wow.
So there were a few on there that I really liked. So I just wanted to see them again. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's just a phone. And I was able to put everything on here from iCloud. But
wow.
Yeah, the only picture I have, this was one of my favorite moments from the concert, but the person in back of me heard that I didn't have a phone and I wasn't taking pictures. So he took a picture of me doing the heart sign during Fearless when Taylor does it. And it's like this perfect picture of her through my heart.
Ooh, heart. Artistic.
It's really cute. So artistic.
Cool.
I was going to say autistic, but
so autistic.
I know. I feel like it was weird, but I said the right word.
Yeah.
I will also post this picture. And then also at one point during the concert, everyone had their phones like doing a certain thing with the flashlight, and he was like, here, take my phone to do it. It was just really sweet. Very kind soul. So yeah, anyway, I have so much more to say, but all in all, it was
stay tuned for a Taylor Swift episode.
I know there will be a Taylor Swift episode. There are definitely maybe 3. So I was thinking we could do maybe a history of our special interests. So, what they were as a kid, what they were as a young adult, as an adult. Are we still young adults? I don't know.
Oh no, don't say that.
Things are weird. Labels are weird.
I think Lauren and I looked it up because she kept calling herself old at 33. I looked it up. I think I looked up middle age, and I think it counted it starting. It was like 36.
Yeah.
No, she was saying she's in her mid 30s at 33, and I was like, that doesn't count. Like you can't be mid 30s until 34 because it's like 31 to 33, 34 to 36, and 37 to 39.
That makes sense.
We're not early 30s. We're not that old.
Early 30s. Not midlife crisis yet.
Oh gosh.
Still that quarter life crisis. And then if any special interests have carried through. So I know you've talked a little bit about being a horse gal yourself.
Yep. I've got my pop socket unicorn.
So tell me all about horses. Just like you have the floor.
We'd be here all day. But as a kid, As a kid, it was like everything horse related. I had horses, to be fair, so that was at least the start of it. And
Oh,
my mom, my mom jokes that she was riding horses up until I was practically born, but like literally until she was too big to fit in the saddle with me.
oh,
So I've been riding horses before I was born.
yeah, that's so sweet.
Yeah. But I had everything. Like one of my biggest regrets as an adult is that I never, like we weren't super well off, but I never had the like big Breyer horses, the ones that are really nice. They're like,
Like
um,
the toy ones?
they're
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
super realistic looking.
Yep,
They're
I
very
know.
breakable.
I had a couple.
Yeah.
I did.
I had the miniature ones because that's what we could afford was the miniature
Yep.
ones, but it was always my like childhood dream to like have all the big ones and all the pretty horses.
Oh,
So I've seriously considered as an adult like buying some to like satisfy that inner child.
absolutely. What are
They're
some of
so
your,
expensive though.
are they
They're
really?
like $50 to $100 each.
I don't remember this as a kid.
Mm.
Wow.
I mean, they were probably less as a kid too, but now they're like, I don't know, a little bit infamous, like Legos. You know, like
Yeah,
Lego
that's
sets
true.
now are like $100 a piece.
That's just true. But
Yeah.
what are some of your favorite horse breeds? Like, did you have certain horse breeds that you had like little models of?
Um, Not specifically to the models that I had, but I love Frisian horses. They're my favorite.
Persian
They're
horses.
kind of a draft breed where they're kind of bigger and they're really tall, but they're all jet black with like these gorgeous long
Ooh.
manes and long tails. And they're not really very athletic. Like they're a draft more, so they're like built for like I don't know, going to war and pulling carriages and stuff like that.
Is that what draft means?
Mostly like draft horses are heavyweight horses, so they're like the farm
Okay.
horses and the war horses and like just whatever you'd need like a big bodied horse for.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking of like horsepower in cars. Like I think
I
it was based off of the draft horses.
think it actually was. I think it was off of farming because you
Yeah,
like your plow would need to have so many
sure.
horses in front of it to
Huh.
pull. And if you were richer, you had more horses. And
Okay, so there's draft
it was
horses.
draft horses.
So this is can you tell what my special interest is? Getting to like hyperfixate on something. Um, what other horse breeds, like what other classifications of horses are there?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Like there's like race horses and
Okay.
like the different speed horses, and then there's sport horses that are like more for like jumping and long distance and stuff like that. Endurance horses. There's a ton of different breeds and stuff. My
This is
mom had
blowing my
an
mind.
my mom had an Arabian when I was young, and they're like very fine boned and like little dish faces, and they're like originate from like northern Africa and stuff like the desert areas, so they're
Uh-huh.
like endurance horses. And my dad had an Appaloosa, which is the spotted
Okay.
horses.
Yes.
Um, and his name was Mr. Blue Dart because he looked like he had little like darts thrown at him of blue spots.
Cute.
Yeah, he was kind of a jerk, but
Oh wow. What are roans considered Appaloosas?
they're their own classification. But there's like red roans and blue roans.
Yeah.
It's just like the coat changes and then like what color their
Yeah.
coat is and patterns.
I just remember riding a strawberry roan and her name was Roni.
Oh, cute,
So
Roni.
Roni. Yeah.
Precious. Yeah, I was the kid that I had like 12 different books on horses, like the encyclopedia of the horse, and like I'm not artistic at all, but I drew horses like solely horses.
Did
I
you have the book that was called How to Draw a Horse? And it
think
was
so.
like the two circles, like the
Yeah.
big circle for their face and then like the little
Mhm,
circle for their, yep.
mhm.
I still use that technique.
I can still draw a horse to this day.
Hell yeah.
Not very good, but better than like a stick figure horse. So yeah.
Amazing.
So that's been my biggest one. And you asked if things like stick with you, and that's
Yeah.
one that has stuck with me through all time. Like it's my goal in life to eventually have a horse again. And like I try to go and take horse riding lessons regularly. And yeah. I found a cool person here that's a queer riding instructor that also does like somatic coaching on horseback. And like it's pretty unique.
Ugh, such a valuable experience.
Well, and like I get something from writing that I don't know if it's because you can't think about anything else. Like you have to focus so heavily on what's happening in the moment. You know, like how do I stay safe on this animal? Like how do I tell them what I'm trying to tell them? And like the tiniest little adjustments of your body or the reins or anything can change what the horse is reading from you. And so you
Oh,
really have to be in the moment and you can't think about anything else. And I think something also about like the use of my muscles in my body in that way, and then like some of the rhythmic like pounding kind of thing also settles my nervous system like so much.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That makes
Um,
total sense.
and I'm exhausted afterwards, so that helps.
Yeah. Always a plus.
Yeah. But I always feel like my mind and my body have both kind of settled after writing.
Yeah.
So,
I'm so glad you found that.
yeah.
Great tool.
Just if I can just get my own again someday, but they're so expensive.
I know. I know.
Mm.
I feel like it's a dream of mine to have land and horses and
Goats and
dogs. Yeah. But I don't know if I like riding horses, but I have a huge fear of them as well. It's been really interesting navigating that. I feel like I was on course to be a horse girl. And then my cousin got kicked in the face by a horse one summer, and it was like this whole traumatic emergency in my family. And then, like a month later, I was at riding lessons and I got bucked off my horse. And so I think all of that just really made me fearful of horses in general. And it took me a long time to even be okay like being around them. And my aunt and uncle have horses, and I got to go to their house last spring, and I met their horse, who it was like a spiritual experience. I don't mean to like be dramatic at all, but this horse just looked at me and was connecting with me, just this beautiful being. So I feel like it healed a little bit of my inner child. And again, I don't know if I'll ever ride horses again, but it was really comforting to be around her. So
any of yours from childhood that you want to share?
So I do have some from childhood that are weird, but I was obsessed with Audrey Hepburn.
Oh,
like obsessed.
Okay. She's cool. Did you do her haircut ever?
I never did her haircut. I don't think I will do her haircut. I think that I've like
the wrong kind of hair for it, maybe.
Well, for sure. But I will say there was a book that her son wrote, and I read it front to back always. And there was a paragraph about a surgery that she had the month before she'd passed away. And her son said, you know, she went into the surgery and then she came out and it felt like her soul had left her body.
Oh, wow.
That surgery was on the day I was born. So there's a little part of me that's like, do I have Audrey Hepburn in me?
Ooh.
A little bit of her soul.
Ooh.
A little bit.
Coincidence is weird.
So weird.
So fun. I love it.
But I loved her movies. I had her artwork like all over my walls. Audrey Hepburn was one of mine. I brought like a notebook. This is one of my accommodations because my brain lives in my notebook. So Disney has been a huge special interest of mine. Like basically since I went to Disneyland for the first time when I was 3 years old. And then my family and I went kind of every year for my birthday. I was a very spoiled child. But for me, you know, it's funny because I really struggled with that special interest because of the corporate aspect and just the ethics of the corporation. I actually worked there for a time at Disney World, and
I think they might also be on the DEI list.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I just booked a trip to Disneyland. Probably should retract that.
But yeah, it's so hard as a consumer, and especially with special interest, because like Harry Potter, special interest, like, and then everything happening with that, it's like, okay, well, I don't really want to support her, but I think I've come to terms with it in my head of like, I've just kind of separated her from that, which I know which is totally impossible, but like the Harry Potter means something different to me than the author.
Yeah.
And so I try to kind of separate that, but it sucks. Like
it's
don't
sucks.
Contort my things that I love.
It super sucks, and it's an escape, and then it's rooted in all of this realism that is problematic. So you have to kind of like
I do really appreciate that they've started adding the statements and stuff to the beginning of all the old movies.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like there's a way to still be a fan without um supporting her directly, such as like buying the books from thrift stores, or when you are streaming the movies, none of it goes to her, or even when
Yeah.
you visit Harry Potter World. I've looked all into this because I
Nice.
also
Yeah.
like Harry Potter, but when everything was coming out a few years ago about all the transphobia, I was like, oh, fuck that. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not supporting it anymore. And then, anyway, I've looked into it.
Yeah.
So,
So are you going to Disneyland or Disney World?
Disneyland.
Disneyland. Okay.
Yeah. And I like feel my special interest feeling. I was gonna
Uh,
ask you if you have like a feeling when you talk about your special interests or when you like engage in them, because for me, I like feel a flutter in my chest and I get so excited.
it
Yes.
it
Little
definitely
stinging.
unlocks my, you can't tell on here, but I'm usually a relatively quiet person that like, doesn't talk a lot in front of like groups especially. But if I'm like in a group and someone like asks me something about it, or even alone if someone asks me about it, like their curiosity makes me like, bleh, like
Word vomit.
everything about it. Yep. Keep asking.
I love that so much. That like unlocks a little, I don't know. I guess I wonder if it unlocks a free part of you. I don't know how to
Mhm.
say that, but
Which is so interesting for ice skating. So one of my other special interests as a child, kind of like you early on, when I was 2, I saw the Olympics and saw Christy Yamaguchi win the Olympics, and I got obsessed. I loved her specifically. I don't know what it was. She didn't have as long a run as Michelle Kwan, but I loved Christy Yamaguchi. I had her Wheaties box and everything else. Um, and from the
so
time I
cute.
was 2 until 6, I begged my mom to go ice skating and be an ice skater. Like that's all I wanted. And that
Yeah.
lasted all the way through. Like I skated until I was 18. Skated from 6 to 18. Um, but I bring that up because I have a mixed relationship with it now.
Mm.
Because like around like 15, 16, I started having a lot more difficulty with sport. And I had a back injury, and then I always complained of headaches even when I was a little kid, and my
Mm.
mom thought I was just kind of like trying to procrastinate and not do the work. But I actually did have headaches, and I know now that I have urticaria to the cold, which I might have talked about before,
Yeah.
but I get migraines in the
Mm-hmm.
cold.
With you need your ears covered.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
to keep my ears warm, or else I get migraines, and I that was happening as a kid. And so that got worse as I got a little older. And then I also had exercise induced asthma, which turns out it might be related to urticaria. I just found that out
Interesting.
recently,
Huh.
which makes sense because like asthma is kind of an allergy also in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But I had exercise induced asthma. So my last competition that I ever did was in Colorado, high elevation. And so my asthma was just really bad. I already was like losing all the time. Like I won a lot until towards the end, and then they changed the judging system. Didn't work in my favor at all.
Oh
But
no.
I also tested up like 2 levels at once. So I passed like all the senior level tests that are like what the Olympic skaters do.
Wow.
But I was not that good. I didn't even
I
go
can't
out of my
wait to ice
region.
skate with you, by the way. Like, I'm so
It's gonna
fucking
be so
excited to
fun.
watch you and just, I love it.
Don't watch too close. I fall a lot now. So um but yeah, so I was like losing a lot. I had really bad asthma going on. I had these headaches. Like it just was not, I cried the whole routine of my last competition. And after that, I was like, I'm done. This isn't fun anymore.
Yeah,
Like, and then between that and not being able to remember a lot of high school time frame,
sure.
like I don't feel like I remember enough to go back and like talk to the people that I was friends with at that time about anything because I can't remember like situations or conversations or relationship stuff from then. And then I also have that mixed feeling about it of like I was so obsessed with this and now I like don't want to touch it. Like I
Hmm.
like still going and skating, but like I don't watch anything. I don't really like
Yeah,
I'm not like going back and visiting. Like I went back and visited my coaches a few times because I do miss them.
sure.
um but yeah, I just don't feel like I can like reconnect to that in the same way.
Having that negative association with like that last competition and then also having like the memory difficulties, do you just feel like what do you feel when you think about ice skating now? I don't know. Is that
Mm,
an okay question to ask?
it is, I don't really know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so like wrapped up in like I loved the performing aspect and like being in
Yeah.
front of it. I always wanted to be like on not Disney on Ice.
Yeah.
Because my coach had a thing against Disney on Ice.
Huh?
She always said like if you don't do well and you don't practice, you're gonna end up stuck in a chipmunk costume on Disney on Ice.
You would
Like,
be so lucky to
I
be
know,
stuck
right?
in a chipmunk costume. I fucking love Disney on Ice.
Right. But I always wanted to go and like be a showgirl and like go to
Yeah.
those kind of things.
Yeah.
And so I loved the performance aspect of it. But then having the like pain associated with it and just like bad times towards the end and like feeling negatively about it really, yeah, it makes me not like I don't seek it out.
Yeah.
I want to go and like ice skate because I like the being on
Sure.
ice again part,
Right.
but
The
other than
feeling.
that, I'm not like interested in
Hmm.
anything. It like turned it off for me.
Yeah. Do you ever watch like videos of Christy Yamaguchi?
I haven't gone that far
Yeah.
back at all. Yeah.
Hmm. I wonder what that would do for little Brie.
Re unlock some things. Who knows?
I can relate though. I have not the same experience, but I have a similar experience with dance.
Oh, okay. Mm.
I loved dancing. It was something I loved to do. I did it 4 to 5 times a week. I was in dance classes between tap, jazz, and ballet, the trifecta. Loved performing, loved moving my body, loved listening to music over and over again. Wonder why.
Perfect for routines.
Exactly. So I remember just going to class and knowing, oh, we're gonna listen to this NSYNC song to warm up, and then our performance is to this Broadway song, and we're gonna listen to it over again, we're gonna on a loop. So I think it had to do a lot actually with my autism now that I'm looking at back at it. But um around middle school, it was getting to a time where it was not of the norm to like continue with the classes without competition.
Mm.
And it was like there were no more classes available for me if I wasn't competing.
Oh.
And I think for some reason, I don't know if it was like a financial barrier or a skills barrier, like I wasn't as good at it, that I couldn't access the competition.
Mm.
And then my body also was so much different than everyone that was dancing. It was just the time that I was going through puberty. I like definitely was becoming into my like more adult body and very I think of the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding where she's like I was a swarthy 6-year-old with sideburns and I was like yeah I was a swarthy middle schooler but yeah my body just what didn't look the same as other dancers. It wasn't delicate and um
Dance is so hard because there is such a culture of like I hope now that it's changing more, but especially in that time frame, like it was such a strong like you have to look the same way,
mhm,
even in the professional ballets and stuff like that's a
yeah
lot of reasons. Like it's African American History Month right
mhm,
now, um, and a lot of people were excluded literally because of their skin color
yeah
and the fact that people were built a little differently, like more muscular, or
yeah
and people would be excluded despite great talent because you didn't fit in perfectly to the ensemble or whatever. Like,
yeah that
so yeah, that was a
norm
really hard time for that.
yeah I mean, it doesn't make sense in that it's right, but it makes sense that if you're not fitting the norm, you're not welcomed in. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's an unfortunate experience, and I do think that it had a lot of like, I didn't dance for years, and even though I love to move my body, it like, I almost feel like every time I felt like I was dancing, there would be like a lot of shame.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But it's interesting because I have started dancing as an adult again, not consistently or regularly. I did a couple of adult dance classes and again loved like the choreography aspect. But some of my favorite dancing has been just like in my living room by
Mm-hmm.
myself or it's really interesting because I do feel like there's an aspect of ice skating that is dancing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like a certain movement in my body where like I hold my arms out and I'm just like floating and it just feels so expressive. Like I can't articulate exactly what it is, but there's some sort of physical expression that dance and ice skating have brought me that I'm not getting from anywhere else. And I do feel like it's a special interest of sorts. But it is interesting to like look at how it has been a relatively traumatic experience for each of us and then finding ways to incorporate it back into our lives in a positive way, kind of break those stigmas.
Yeah, I think I definitely relate to that. Like, there's some position or some movement that makes you just like definitely for me, like when I there's like a certain turn, like I would do a turn to skate backwards and like do this like certain like presentation
Yeah.
that just every time, like I still do it when I go back and I
Yeah.
like think about like, oh, like I think you see those moments if you go to the ballet or you go to an arts performing thing and you see that moment of the performer like opening up and it's like that chills moment that people get like
Like when we went to the Nutcracker, I was fucking bawling during the Waltz of the Flowers just with like that music and the moves. There's just something about dance expression that is really,
mm-hmm.
really special to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I didn't know we would talk about that.
So that was childhood.
There's been points in my life where a special interest of mine has actually been who am I personal identity.
Oh.
It's really interesting. So there was a time where I was obsessed with the Enneagram and
Mm-hmm.
understanding like what number am I? What number are all my friends? And also it was at the same time that I found astrology. And it's the same type of like what makes you you.
Like
So
predictive kind of
yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I wonder if it's like part of neurodiversity of not really having a lot of that. It's not, is it called interoception?
I think so. Like introspection or introspection.
Introspection.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like the lack of introspection or what it is, but have you ever gone through like personality phases in your life?
I think I did when I was going into like autism TikTok. I'm like trying to
Yeah.
find things that definitely like lasted for a while. I don't think I've really done any other like self-discovery
Yeah.
kind of ones.
Maybe it's
A lot of
coming.
time because I'm not very introspective. So like most of my like things have been very like factual things. Like
Mm.
during COVID, I had several like short-term hyperfixations, which
Yeah.
I think what were you gonna explain the definition of like
Oh, yes.
hyperfixation versus
So, hyperfixation versus special interest.
mm,
So, hyperfixation is a short burst of energy towards a specific thing that can interrupt daily living
mm,
and can be like hard to separate yourself from it. Whereas special interest is more of like a longevity interest in a specific thing
mm.
where like you can have hyperfixations in your special interest,
Okay.
hyperfixated moments, if you will.
Okay. Yeah, so I'd say most of mine were like more of hyperfixations um than longer term special interests.
Yeah.
Especially like during COVID. I needed to do something with myself and I
Didn't we all?
yeah, something to distract myself.
Yes.
And I already have this problem where I can't buy something or choose a product or like start in an endeavor without researching literally everything behind it. Like I cannot make a decision without knowing every option available, which is so frustrating sometimes. But I got really deep into like skincare TikTok
Oh
and
yeah.
hair care TikTok, and I like hardcore hyper fixated on all of it. I could have like when I was in it, I could have told you like, oh yeah, hyaluronic acid does this one thing, and you never want to
Yes.
combine this acid and this acid, and like
I
I've already
definitely have been
forgotten
there
most of it,
too.
but
Like the skincare cycling or whatever. All the things.
yeah,
It's hilarious.
yeah. Or I would say like now like being like a gym girly is in probably in my special interest now more
Mhm.
because it's been longer term,
Yeah.
but
Do you think that relates to being a physical therapist at all?
probably yes. Physical therapy definitely started out as a hyperfixation and turned more special interests
Cool.
because I found physical therapy in high school.
Yeah.
I did one shadowing opportunity at a pediatric place in freshman year, and
Wow.
like from there it was like on it, sold.
I love
Um,
that.
Yeah, I love it and I hate it. Like I
Really?
kind of wish that I was not open at all to like considering other career paths
Mm,
except for like backup options if that failed. Like I had like, okay,
sure.
maybe I'll be a nurse or a vet or something like that if that
Sure.
fails. But I
Yeah.
like didn't even consider another option from there on out. Like I was like, I'm gonna be a physical therapist. It matches everything that I'm good at and like my interests.
Yeah. But that's so cool that you found what you wanted to do and it matches, who you are and your special interests too.
Yeah.
But I get also the other part of that where it's like grass is greener, could have like explored a couple of other options.
Yeah. Or
But
if
the
I had like
good
considered other people's input too, of like
mm,
my mom told me a few years ago that like basically everyone in our family, even if we start in other careers, ends up being like an accountant or something with numbers. And that's what she's doing now.
oh
She started out in construction management
funny.
and then now she's an accountant for a construction management company. But like my grandpa, like her, some aunts and uncles, like they've all done that same thing.
So
And I'm
interesting.
like, I kind of wish I had known that as a kid. Like, maybe led me down a different path or like now I know also like I'm really good at handy woman type skills like
Yeah,
building and I would have been a great electrician like
still could be.
still could be.
Still could
I'm not
be.
too old.
You're
I'm in
in
my
your
early
you're
30s.
in your early 30s.
I'm not too old yet.
It's so funny you say that about your family working in numbers. I've noticed that my family works in agriculture.
Oh.
Like my grandpa worked in the Department of Agriculture, I don't know, for the government. And then my other grandpa owns a Dahlia farm
Hmm.
in California and is like one of the main producers of commercial dahlias. And then my mom is, she had a flower shop for years and now does more landscaping. So I always
That's
say,
crazy.
isn't that wild? I know. So um I always say that, one of my, what do I say? Like my heritage is flowers and
Oh.
my heritage is growing things. I'm not really good at it.
You have lots of pretty house plants.
I can learn about them, but and I love them. I love being surrounded by them, but
Is that another special interest?
I would say it's not a special
Okay.
interest. I would say the way I think about houseplants is it's something that my mom and I have always done together. She's always brought me houseplants, taught me
Mhm.
to take care of them. So it's more of a connection to her
Okay.
and beauty aesthetic versus like a special interest of mine of taking care of the plants.
Hmm.
However, when I had my garden last year, I was so hyper fixated on creating a certain vision of what colors I wanted and how I wanted the garden to look and whatnot. And I already have plans for this summer's
Oh,
garden.
nice.
Um, so it's just interesting
Hmm.
having different relation to what you do, I guess.
What are you most excited about growing?
This summer,
Mhm.
cosmos.
Cosmos.
I
Pretty.
really love cosmos. I've decided not to do dahlias because they're just the stalks are so annoying to work with, and I again live in a very small area where I have a tiny house and I have a tiny yard. So I really want to work on like cultivating the yard to be a place where I can sit and like enjoy my tea or
Aw,
whatever. I have these visions of just being outside.
beautiful.
But I want a lot of pink and purple plants. Last year was a lot of actually black plants.
Oh, cool.
So I had a couple of pansies that were really dark and like some fuchsias that had dark, like really dark purple, so they almost look black. Yeah, they're
Cool.
really cool. But
Nice.
my mom's coming up this weekend and we're gonna winterize the yard,
Ah.
and then she'll probably come up again around spring break and we'll figure out a plan. She's my consultant. I'm very grateful for her.
Aw. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna do. I only did veggies last year. Didn't really have money for any fun flowers and things. I'd love to like make my house look a little prettier on the outside, but
Yeah.
so hopefully I can do that this year. But I
Okay.
grew zucchinis last year, and they
Oh.
were out of control.
Yeah, they can be.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
literally had one that was this big.
Yeah. They do
Like, it
that.
was like a foot long and like probably like a good like 4 inches around. Like
Did it even taste good? Because I feel like I've done that before and they
the
just
big
taste
ones, no, but
watery.
I didn't see it. Like it was on the very bottom somehow.
It was hiding.
It was hiding. It was huge.
Oh my
But I think I
gosh.
probably got like from two zucchini. No, it was probably about five zucchini plants like in the same little mound. I probably got like 30 or 40 zucchinis over the summer. Yeah.
Damn, that's a
It was
lot.
very prolific. I don't know what even
Fruitful.
fruitful. Yeah.
I've grown tomatoes before and they
Mm.
are like, oh my God, a homemade tomato sandwich.
Mm.
My mouth is salivating.
I love it.
That sounds so good.
Mm.
That for sure is like my favorite part of growing summer
Mm.
tomatoes and whatnot. But we live in the Pacific Northwest. It's a little hard to figure out what to.
Yeah, I started way too late last year.
Yeah, yeah. Our
I didn't
climate.
realize.
What
Okay.
were you gonna say?
I didn't realize that my local library had a seed
Yeah,
library. You can go get them for free. And so I
yeah.
started too late because I didn't know about it and then started from seeds. So
Oh, yeah. Seeds are hard to start from. I feel like it's a lot easier to start from veggie starts.
yeah,
But our climate really isn't that predictable.
no, especially this year.
It's just been so fucking weird.
I think we're turning into California. That's my theory all along is that with global warming, like we're slowly turning into California. So if I just stay in Oregon long enough, it'll be California.
It'll be. I don't even know what to think about global warming.
I know, right?
It's not
I
a
just thought it
fun
was so
subject.
funny that when it snowed a couple weeks ago in Florida and like New Orleans and stuff like that, did you see those? There was like
Mm-mm.
videos of them because it was like 5 inches or more, and they like never get any snow. And it was right after the presidential swearing in
Oh, the inauguration.
inauguration, and everybody was
Trump
like,
freezing over it.
like making the joke of like you said when hell freezes over, and here we are in Florida freezing over.
Yeah. I do
Yeah.
feel like we're in hell lately. Some version of it.
It's okay. There's too much to discuss there, so
We'll just
put that in the pocket for now.
um I wanted to talk about suppressed special interests. Do you feel like there's been any that have been suppressed for you?
I mean, I think there was definitely a period of time, and like maybe partially still of like suppressing the horse
Yeah.
interest because it was like shamed for
Yeah.
being like, well, being a horse girl is nerdy and it's like all that junk for a long time.
So stupid.
Um, Other than that, I can't really think of anything.
Yeah.
What about you?
I feel like dance for sure. And then also I have always wanted to be a runner.
Oh, yeah.
Like always.
Okay.
For
I
some
didn't know this was a
reason.
goal of yours.
I don't know if it's a goal.
Oh.
Special interest.
Okay.
Maybe we'll get there, maybe we won't, but it's something where I will attempt to do it. And I don't know if it's because of my MCAS or whatever, but I almost feel like I have a histamine response to exercise where my skin gets so flushed, it gets so itchy.
Mm.
It's really hard for me to breathe, probably the sports induced asthma. So it's interesting because I have that on walks. So then when I
Oh.
start to run, it just gets that much worse. And I've always chalked it up to being out of shape or whatever. And then paying more attention to it, it really is something that's like going wrong in my system.
It sounds very similar to the urticaria, which is it's just an allergy, and an allergy is a histamine response.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that those two things would go kind of hand in hand.
Yeah.
But that's kind of similar to what happens with mine, like the
Yeah.
itchiness and the hives feeling.
Yeah.
And
It's really not fun.
no.
It's not fun at all.
Have
Or
you ever tried taking allergy medications before?
I'm on 4 Zyrtec a day.
What is it today?
Yes, I am. Right now. It's a whole like I'm figuring out the MCAS diagnosis right now. So
Have you noticed those symptoms though since being on that much antihistamines?
no. So it's interesting. And that's, I've started ice skating more. I go probably 3 times a week and I only go for 20 minutes. So it's like short stints, mostly because I'm breaking in my skates and it fucking
Oh my
hurts
gosh, the worst.
so bad. I think I'm on hour 5. So I'm hoping they told me 6 hours.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
hopefully we're getting to the end point. But and I don't know if it's because I'm like on the ice and it's cold in the environment.
It takes a
or if
lot of
it's
getting
because
used
of
to.
the, yeah,
Mm.
or if it's because of the histamine. But I'll definitely still get the flushed face, but my skin hasn't been itching.
Mm.
So
Okay.
I might
Promising.
try and become a runner.
Well, if you, so I've had kind of a mixed history with running
Have you?
too, in that I am just not built to be a runner at
Yeah.
all. Like I am built for power
Yeah.
and speed. Like I could be a sprinter and do
Cool.
great, but like as an adult, there's no point of being a sprinter. Like
For fun.
they don't have sprints for a cause or whatever. Like it's all 5K for the guy. Run a marathon, like
Marathon.
whatever. Nobody's like do the 100-meter dash as an adult.
Let's create 100-meter
Yes.
dash.
Running for non-runners.
The most fun.
Yeah. But yeah, so I like I've always been upset that I can't like do that because I'm like I want to join in, and like when I first got here I joined a running club, and I really like them because they don't do long runs
Hmm.
like on their regular. You can join parts of the group that do longer runs, but most of their runs are like 3 to 5 mile.
Got it.
And there are people that walk too, so it's pretty reasonable and yeah, inclusive. Um, but yeah, no, it's always upset me that I can't really get further. I've run one time, run an 8K, but I used to run 5Ks pretty regularly, and that's
Yeah.
like my max. Like I'm max out at that
Yeah.
point. But yeah, if you want to go on runs at all, I like to trail run as my preferred thing. But I usually run like 1 or 2 minutes, walk for a little bit, run a few minutes, walk. Mm.
See, and I have it in my head that that's the wrong thing to do,
Yeah,
but it's not wrong.
yeah,
No.
that's a great
So,
starting point. Like,
yeah. Well, maybe I'll become a runner. Well, it'll
does
no
Frankie
longer.
like to run?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. I call Jules my therapy dog when I'm running because the distraction of like having to manage that the dog isn't running me over or going in the street or like going the right speed, like all those things like helps distract me from my body's reaction.
Oh, interesting.
And when I run without her, I can't make it like half as far.
Yeah.
So it really that distraction really helps.
Let's try this out.
Yeah.
I'd be excited to try it out.
Yeah. My dog is 12 years old, but I went for a 3 mile run with her last week on a trail run. And then the next day she wanted to go for another run. I was like, I'm not doing it again. I can't
Nope.
do it again.
Can't do it again.
I'll
Sorry,
take you
bud.
on a mile walk. Like
Sorry, bud.
yeah.
I just throw my dog in the car and take her to the park and run her herself.
Yeah.
And she's so happy.
She's a little youngin.
She's a little youngin'. She's a little chocolate lab.
Do you ever think that dogs or cats were your special interest?
Ooh, that's a really good question. And falls into the suppressed special interests.
Ooh.
Ooh. Wow. So I think I remember really, really loving kittens and really loving cats.
Mhm.
I had a cat as a very like as a baby and they had to get rid of it because it was like marking furniture or whatever.
Oh.
But I remember being given a kitten on my fourth birthday.
Oh.
Cute, right? Well, for some reason it didn't work out and I had to like bring it to the farm. You know how like
Oh.
that's like whatever.
PG way of saying.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So I don't know if it was given away. I don't know if it had to be put down or whatever, but and then I remember that obviously was very sad
Yeah,
and very
traumatic.
traumatic. Yeah. And then kind of for the next few years, I remember going to uh our local farm store and every time that there was kittens, I would just like stay there and hold the kittens and just like they would fall asleep in my arms and I loved them so much and the answer was always no, that I couldn't have a kitten or a cat. And so and now I don't really like cats. I like your cat. It's very cute.
He's a weird cat.
He's a weird cat. But I don't want a cat. I don't really enjoy being around them. And I do wonder if it's like a suppression of a special interest because it's been like it's a traumatic point in my
like
childhood.
physical response to it.
Yeah.
It's like I don't actually like cats versus like
Yeah.
I feel weird around you because of these feelings. Or...
Yeah, totally. I think that's a big part of it. But dogs for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I think that animals in general are pretty strong, if not special interest, but just like a lot of neurodiverse people have strong connections to animals and
Yeah.
like feel like animals understand us better than humans do. And
Totally.
what did you say that last time? One of the times you said, oh, that cats are autistic and dogs are ADHD.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have two books that are actually titled that. One is called Cats Have AD or Cats Are Autistic, Dogs Are ADHD. I'll bring them in if I remember to.
Yeah.
But it's so true.
So send us your cute pics of your pets.
We
We'll
love
do an
them.
introductory post of our babies so you can see all
Absolutely.
their pictures.
Yeah, I love dogs. They're definitely one of my favorite creatures on earth.
Yeah. I definitely have where I like feel the urge to name the breeds of every dog that I see.
Oh yeah.
I like be like, oh, that's an Affenpinscher. Or like, oh, I bet that's a Basenji. Like whatever.
Figure out the breed.
Mhm.
I love that. Well, we didn't even get to talk about Taylor Swift.
Well, go for it. We're only like 50 minutes in. You're good.
I love her so much. So I love Taylor Swift. I have since she came out with her debut album.
Oh wow. In
Yeah.
the beginning, huh?
Oh, I literally remember being in my backyard listening to the radio, teardrops on my guitar, and they were giving away concert tickets for her opening up for someone in our city. And I just remember listening to that song and
Oh my God, Taylor Swift as
falling
an
in love.
opening act, not even like
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So I've loved her since then, every album. Um, I definitely don't call myself a Swiftie.
Okay. Are you like, I haven't been here too long and now these noobs are being Swifties or like
No, it's more about like the Swiftie cult
oh.
that I'm just like not here for.
Mm.
I love listening to her music and I find it wild that time and time again I relate to her lyrics so specifically. It's just very bizarre. It's just interesting, especially being a part of the age with like TikTok and social media. And, it is fun to hear about other people's like perceptions and experiences of her. However, it doesn't make me want to be a part of that community. I don't know. It's a really weird aversion, but it's strong.
Fair.
Anyway, I think, like I said, she's just so important to me because her lyrics have really spoken to some experiences that I've had. I joke all the time that her album that came out last year, um, the Tortured Poets Department, like I didn't even process my breakup until the album came out and I, saw certain lyrics and sang to them and whatnot. And just there's something about it that I just highly relate to. And
yeah. You showed off your shirt, but you didn't show off your mug yet.
I know this is my mug that my really good friend Gabby gave to me. So it's so cute. It says Swifty, but spelled with T.
Yes,
Ouch.
T.
So it says McKenna's version, and it has all the stamps of her albums and books of her albums. It's super cute, which is great because I also collect mugs. Part of my special interest too.
Aha.
But yeah, that's all I have to say about her. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if you find Justice to be a special interest for you.
Oh. I don't know about a special interest because I think it makes me feel so strongly and then I like run away from that like too strong of feelings and emotion about it. Like I have to almost, like protect myself from how strongly I feel sense of justice.
Sure.
But it definitely did for a little bit become a hyper focus in PT related things because I was like clinic lead for a little while. And I was just like so obsessed with making sure that everything was like up to standard, correct, like these things need to be included on every note and like just making sure that they're all like perfect for like insurance things. And I helped do some auditing and like I loved the auditing because I was like I just wanted to sit there and like check things off and fill in the boxes and like do all these parts just over and over again. And then I was like, okay, I'd really like to do this. Like if I could get out of direct patient care. I would love to like audit clinics and stuff like that. Turns out you have to have another degree for that. But
Cool, cool, cool.
right, cool. But yeah, that was really interesting to me. What
I
about
love
you?
that. So I don't understand if justice is a special interest or a value of mine, or if it's both.
Mm.
But I definitely do feel my special interest feeling in certain moments of advocacy, particularly neurodiversity affirming advocacy, um, thinking about providing the best care for folks, identifying ableism, and also other injustices, all of the intersectional injustices that play into our fucking world. But it is something that I do really like to talk about in terms of, you know, I wonder if it's a special interest and or value because of that autistic form of thinking that's rigid and black and white and doing things right and wrong, and really believing that like what you really believing that like they're, oh, how do I want to say this, seeing that things are being done in a different way, so automatically thinking that it's injustice and that it's wrong. I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that you connected to the feeling of it because that could kind of like inform us if we aren't like, because I know, but at least for me, a lot of times I'm not even really aware of like what I'm super interested in, like consciously. But like you could maybe use that feeling of like, oh, I get this like fluttery feeling when I'm doing this thing or like talking about this.
Look at us doing somatic work.
Oh God, it's working, Angelica. She did say she might listen, so maybe she'll realize she got a call out.
But I do think that that's part of the special interest, is like that fluttery feeling.
Yeah.
So
So last thing, I had a would you rather for you. So
I'm
would
gonna say
you
neither.
she hates these would you rather's already, but that's why I like them. Conversation sparking. Okay, so would you rather have to give up one special interest forever or pick only one special interest forever?
Ooh. Hmm. Good question. Neither. Just kidding. I would rather give up a special interest, give up one,
Mhm.
because I do see that as time goes on, I have way more and more special interests than I can even account for. And
Mm.
I love expanding. I love learning new things. That is just who I am, fuels my life.
Mm.
If I were to be limited to one thing, that would be really hard. And to be honest, I think I've been in the position to give up the Disney special interest for quite some time.
You're a
And
Disney adult.
today's conversation kind of made me think maybe this is my last trip to Disneyland.
Okay, the would you rather wasn't real. No. I'm not a genie.
Disney genie.
I did that on accident.
What about
Uh,
you?
well, okay, so the logical side of me is like it would make life so much easier if I just had one special
Yes.
interest forever. Because like if I could give up everything else, it would be horses that I would keep. But
Hell
if
yeah.
I could give up everything else but horses, it would make my financial life a lot easier because I wouldn't be spending my money on all these other things that I like to do. And like I have special interest in real estate, and that's not going away anytime soon. It's like logically that would make sense, but I think you're right, like that you would feel too like trapped in that one thing. And like what if I couldn't do it? Like what if I couldn't have a horse or like
Yeah.
things changed or whatever? Like
Yeah.
yeah, that would be too heartbreaking then because all your eggs are in that one like special interest.
Definitely. But it would probably bring you so much joy and it'd be so
Right.
streamlined.
Like you'd be fully fulfilled off of one thing.
Yeah. Maybe that does sound intriguing.
Which one would you keep if you had to keep just one?
Oh God. I don't think I could ever get rid of Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift would you read number one?
I think so. Yeah. But dogs.
But dogs, yeah. Aw.
But justice. But maybe that's a value. I think that's a value now that I'm thinking about it more and more.
Yeah.
Like Taylor Swift. Let her.
Well, if you guys ever want to answer the would you rather questions, go for it because we'd love to hear more input and takes on why you would one or the other.
Absolutely.
Thanks for talking to us about special interests this time. It's been really interesting.
Absolutely. Was it really interesting?
It was really interesting.
Especially interesting.
It was especially interesting. All right.
All right. Well, hey, this week find your joy.
And be unapologetically you and all of your fun special interests.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Bye, hotties.
Hotties out.